This is the Bitcoin Otter Radio Show.
Oh my God, I love you so much!
On 97.7 FM, The City.
Greetings, blessings, and good fortune, everybody. It's another Thursday. Me and the mustache are back here at the studios, KCYP, The City, McAllen, Texas. We're in the creative incubator here in McAllen, and it's not occupied. Once the kids go out, it's not occupied, and there's no noise and beating of drums and singing of songs and so forth. But they'll be back pretty soon, as school will be back in session. So I want to tell you, thank you very much if you're live. I'm going to log in now to the Facebook, and hopefully Joe will see your YouTube comments. Anybody that's on YouTube will also pop up. So I'm going to go see which one I'm on here. This is mine. I'm going to go up on there and look at the comments, and then I'm going to go on to the Bitcoin Otter page and do the same. Please bear with us during this time. So we're also going out on TuneIn Radio and Radio Garden, as well as the Facebook pages of Christopher Ott, the Bitcoin Otter, and KCYP 97.7. So those will all be sufficient for you to see tonight's show and subsequent shows. So let me see here. Widen this, and we can see. Okay, there we go. We got the captions, and we have the actual comments. All right. So we got somebody. Barry, good to see you. Last week was a week of rest and relaxation. Well, sometimes not as relaxing as I'd like it to be, but thank you for bearing with us during the break. But we're back. We're back with the mustache and all. I don't know when I'm going to shave this thing, but anyway, I'm glad to see all is well, and I do hope everything's well with you, Barry. You and the wife. Hopefully, she's watching as well. Thank you very much for hanging out with us. So we have some things to talk about as usual, but if you want to talk about something, Barry, go right ahead. What I would like to start out with first, of course, is what we have on tap for the verse of the day. What is that verse of the day? We have, and let me refresh it, Ephesians 2:10. We are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Ladies and gentlemen, may we do good works. May our show tonight be what God might consider good works, because it doesn't really matter what we consider it. It's what he considers it. So I would like to hopefully show that we are engaged in spiritual warfare. We are engaged in cultural awareness. Not that we're going along with this crazy culture, but we're hoping to help other people learn that, you know what? Not everything in culture is a good thing. I think it was Ravi Zacharias who said, he was an evangelist, but mostly a very, very good debater in many things theological, Christian. And he said one time that some cultures will have their neighbors over for dinner, and other cultures will have their neighbors for dinner, if you know what I mean. So culture is not a guarantee of anything. It is only what exists among certain like-minded people. So I think it'll behoove us in America to think of it that way. Good coffee. So what's going on? Well, I was on a vacation, but I was trying to keep abreast, if you will, of the situations that are going on. And I'm thinking, personally, that we may indeed be coming closer, hopefully, to the point where the Federal Reserve will not be an issue anymore. And with it, the Gestapo wing of the Federal Reserve, the IRS, will also be going the way of the dodo. Hopefully, Lord willing, that will be. But What makes me think that? Well, there are more and more machinations behind the scenes between Warsh is the new Federal Reserve chairman appointed by Donald Trump, and he's just not like the others, which is a good thing, which is a very good thing. He's just not like the others. So there have been, and I can't think of them right now, there have been statements that he's made that are different, and there are other things like, I don't know how to take this particular website. It's almost prescient sometimes, but it's called the debtclock.org. Debtclock.org. And if you've never seen it, it's extraordinary. It follows our debt, but it's a screen full of economic information. And then in the upper right corner, you'll have the secret window or box or whatever they call it, and they'll come up with some stuff sometimes that's just mind-blowing. They also have the gold to silver ratio. They will also have where they believe gold should be valued in relation to the US dollar. They'll have where silver should be valued by their estimation and algorithm or math, whatever you want to look at, however you want to look at it. And that also is on there for silver. And to me, that's an important thing, because I truly believe that at some point, perhaps some point soon, we are going to go to an asset-backed US dollar. Now, another reason for thinking that is the Russians are accusing us, or are making waves, if you will, making sounds like it's, going to happen, that we are going to replace or use crypto to pay down our debt. Barry says, are you on YouTube Live? I believe so. Joe, are we up on? Yeah, I think we are. Are you looking at YouTube right now? Hopefully there's no error there.
Ours is up. No problem.
Okay. It should be up. But yeah, audio. I just heard the audio. So we should be up there. And that is, I guess, if we get, slammed or technically disabled by Facebook, we have that option. That's something that I think is important, having options. Censorship resistance is essential nowadays. And how did we learn this? We learned it, how do you say? It was a tough learn. I'll tell you that. It was.
Confirm. We're on your.
Okay, we're on our. Okay, yeah, we confirmed that. So, yep. Both YouTube and Facebook. Thank you, Barry, for checking that out. Sometimes it doesn't always work that way. But one of the things that Russia is accusing us of, and this is something to watch, I guess, because it's definitely going to affect us as well, is that we are going to have some type of crypto. We're going to use perhaps a stable coin that's going to be an official United States Treasury stable coin. Personally, I think that's light years ahead of the current Federal Reserve System. Is it perfect? I mean, there is no perfect thing here on this earth, right? But I think it'll be light years ahead. Why do I think that? Because a blockchain is so much more secure than people in the Pentagon with 14, if you remember, right? Doge found 14 money-making machines in the Pentagon, guys. 14. And that's all they found. Imagine how many more. Who knows? Maybe there was one on Epstein Island. We don't know. And they couldn't find where this was coming from, the US dollar digital creation, and where it was going. 14 of them. They don't know how much each one had sent, created, inflated, because that's what it is. It's inflation. It's the illegal inflation of our US dollar, right? Which is a fiat currency, completely off the wall and corrupt, right? But that's the way it is. Now, going back to the Russians, they believe that we're going to do some, and they're warning the world, right? So they believe that we're going to do some switchy-changey where our debt will be paid off with, I mean, there's different people thinking different things, that there'll be $1 trillion coin and it'll automatically pay off the debt. I don't believe that. What I do believe is they're going to make, I guess, a combination and amalgamation of assets to include T-bonds, right? Treasury bonds, which are debt. It's processed, packaged debt. Okay. Where I'm against this plan is at this point. We don't owe that debt. I don't accept that we owe that debt. Why? A lot of it was what Doge found. They found corruption at every governmental level. Spending tax dollars, spending allotted dollars from our budget, right? And creating out of nothing, like I just explained with the 14 moneymakers, dollars out of nothing. Why do we owe that? Why do we owe for these things? Right? I mean, it goes back to that meme where you see the guy who's, dressed in 50s style clothing at a city council meeting or whatever, and he's saying, if you can print money, why do you have to tax us? It's simple. They want us in a compromised position. They want us to be scrambling. When we're scrambling, we're not thinking, we're not planning, we're not so much gaining wealth, right? We're going from job to job. Some families, most families, I would say, probably in America, 2 parents are working. You got latchkey kids. Oh, but they can always go to daycare, or the schools will raise them. Isn't that a dangerous thought? Isn't that a really scary thought? Schools raising your kids? Well, it's commonplace here in the U.S. And they rabidly fight anyone that says, hey, you know what? Maybe we could shorten the hours. Maybe we could, I guess it would be a voucher system that Donald Trump floated, but I don't know that it ever caught traction. Those are the things that they really fear. They really fear that, because what that means is it's a decentralization of power. And that power is so effective to educate children, educate human beings at the earliest level, the earliest time, right? That is extremely valuable for any society. Now, imagine how valuable that is for the enemies of our society. There you go, right? That's what I'm thinking. That's the point I'm trying to make here, is that it is immense power and shouldn't be wielded by some teachers union or some education department. Vague guidelines, perhaps, sure. But state by state, we should have a decentralized system. And then those systems in some way or form can be rated, okay? R-A-T, not rated, R-A-I-D, but rated on their success or failure. So I even read, I think it was it yesterday? I think it was, I don't know if it was an Ivy League school or what, but they're going to go away from lettered grading, or perhaps even the GPA scale. I'm not sure. But if anybody knows about it, please throw it up here. But all that to say, wait a minute, who's teaching our kids? Why not us at home? Well, many of us have to go to work. But don't the usual suspects win in that scenario? What do you mean, Otter? Well, don't we have to then buy 2 vehicles? Don't we then have to buy 2 wardrobes? Don't we then have to be taxed on 2 incomes? Don't we then buy 2 lunches, spend gas in 2 vehicles, insure 2 vehicles? Adding up, right? Oh, it does add up, and it kills. And then let's say the kid's not old enough for school, daycare. That's expensive. Wow, is that expensive? Barry says, Texas has a voucher system. It's less if you homeschool. Well, yeah. Thank you for that. It is less. I mean, you wouldn't have the overhead if you homeschool, right? But if you can homeschool, that's the thing. I think it's awesome. I think that's the best. Maybe not for like sports program and interaction, but there is that, right? There is that interaction with other kids. I remember Joe. He had a movie class for kids, and they were all homeschooled kids. So they came here to the studio, and they had the use of the McAllen Creative Incubator, and they learned how to edit, they learned how to film, they learned how to, storyboard and all that great stuff to learn. And I think it was an elective. Joe, was it an elective? So they had an elective, and it went towards their final grade, but it gave them a variated source of education, and the kids came together, and it was an actual physical social interaction. It wasn't just computers or just mom, in the living room, which most of it probably was, right? And that's not bad. I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying that getting the kids out and about is a good thing too, right? So I'm in favor. Joe, how you doing, Joe? We got another Joe over here. Hope all is well with you, my friend. We're talking about the economic cost of what it is, the situation we are in as in American society. So now the good side, right? So we've already highlighted the bad side. What about the good side? What about the good side of having a solid economy with what I was talking about earlier? The asset-backed system, what does that do? Well, it brings us back into the realm of reason. Reason meaning our dollar will carry value. It will retain value. So think back before the criminals, the Federal Reserve System changed us from an asset-backed, gold-backed, in this case the asset was gold, currency to a fiat currency. I mean, it was gradual, so nobody really felt it all that bad. But the real sucking sound, like Ross Perot described when he was running for president, he basically said that NAFTA was going to have a great sucking sound of revenue from the U.S., and it did. But the great sucking sound came when the industry left. I can attest to this as I grew up in the 70s and 80s when we were being deindustrialized on purpose by the usual suspects. Barry says 4-H is also a great option. Absolutely. 4-H and the other one, Civil Air Patrol, says Joe. It's a good option. The other one is what's the agricultural one? It's not 4-H. It's also Young Farmers, something like that. I can't remember, but it's across the street from me in McAllen by the new, what do you call it? The new baseball park. Anyway, where we're going, I think in the future, and I hope in the future. If you've watched one of my shows, you've watched enough to know that I am an optimist. Some people say I'm on hopium, whatever. But I don't have the views I have without indications. I don't do it without, NAFTA. It was about NAFTA. And that's why Trump is now telling Mexico and Canada, hey, we're getting new deals. We're getting new deals. In his way, he moves his hands. We're getting new deals because they have been just raking us over the coals. They have been beating us silly, right? Canada with their maple syrup tariffs and things like that. And then they get all hurt when we say, you know what, we're going to do 100% because you guys are not cooperating. So finally, we have a president that's sticking up with us. FFA, but you have to be in public school. Oh, okay. So FFA is Future Farmers of America. Yeah, so you have to be in public school for that. Okay. Maybe that's why they're funded so much more, right? Probably funded a lot more than 4-H, but I'm not sure. Because they have a very, very good program, a robust program in McAllen for FFA. So coming back to the real currency positives, we will retain the value of our dollar. And if it is asset backed, okay, we don't have to worry. Well, let me scratch that for a second. Let me go back a bit. If it is asset backed and blockchain based, a secure blockchain technological, it's called unfungible, I believe, infungible. You can't change it. So counterfeiting is nearly impossible. Tracking it is possible. Now, I don't necessarily like that. I don't really want paper money to go away. But I do want the fact that if a dollar is made, a dollar is retained. I think it's somewhere around 97% of our buying power we've lost. Todd, how you doing? Good to see you. Nice stash. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate that. I did. I said asset. I did. So, Todd, what we're talking about is the economics of our culture, the economics of a fiat currency system, and the hopeful, Lord willing, God willing, the hopeful concept that we're at some point going to go back to an asset-based economy. And we also said that the Russians are making noise that warning the world that we're going to try and erase our debt using crypto. We'll see what happens. But I think that the plan behind that is basically that we're going to put the assets together like, well, liabilities, the U.S. debt in the form of T-bonds, and then use that as part of, I'm hoping it's gold, silver as well. Bitcoin, perhaps. I don't know what that bag of assets is going to be, but I hope it's something that is deflational in nature as opposed to inflational. You know, if that's a word, inflational. I don't know. So where I'm going with all that is I do have signs that I'm watching. I do have signal amongst all the noise. Now, figuring out signal to noise is not always easy. I understand that. But where I'm going with the optimistic angle is that if and when we have asset-backed currency, we will then be able to bring mom home. If she wants to work, whatever. Okay? That's fine. But I'll tell you another thing. If we are able to wrest the educational system from politicians, and we are able to have a more community-based as opposed to a federally based curriculum, we will be so much better off. Why do I say that? Because DC is a cesspool. Policies made in DC cannot be trusted, right? The fact that a racketeer like, what's her name? Weingartner, right? She's the head of the teachers union. She's an outright communist. She is not for the faint of heart, ladies and gentlemen. She's a hammer and sickle all the way, right? So it doesn't mean, I'm not saying that these are what the teachers are like. I'm just saying that this is what the head of the union is like. Then you have the politicians that supposedly oversee the Department of Education, DEA. I'm telling you right now, or Department of Education, yeah. That ain't right either. By no stretch of the imagination. It's born in the swamp. What do you expect? So if we go back to, we get an asset-based currency. We go back to having children educated, young Americans educated well. We go back to teaching them Western civilization. They get civics classes. They get real education, okay? We're not trying to chop off parts that God gave, okay? We're not going to do that. If we have better control as parents, which means it must be decentralized. It has to be decentralized. And then the next generation will have much more hope than what this current one has. Because education is, wow. I mean, look at universities now. I mean, I would imagine parents are kind of concerned that, you know, their child that they've been raising, teaching, instructing, might go away and come back a different mindset. I'm sure I mean, our kids went to school locally, so it wasn't an issue. But I wouldn't want to do that, especially if it was just, one of those crazy, insane deals where it's not even education they're getting, it's indoctrination. So to bring it all together, it's an optimistic viewpoint that we can, by reforming, not revolution. We don't need a revolution in this country. Our structure, our foundation is strong. Our founding documents are strong, wisely written, using not just smart humans, but the Word of God himself, right? These were very highly educated people. They knew what they were doing. And they made room for improvements, possibility, potential for improvements. So we put that together with getting rid of the enemy, what Donald Trump calls the invisible enemy, which is the deep state, the usual suspects. Man, we're going to have a country. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have America back. We're going to make America great again. Literally. But here's the thing that has to happen, ladies and gentlemen. If we want a good country, an honorable, honest country back, Barry says, pump the crypto, dump our debt, and crash the price, and who holds the bag? Yeah, I get you. And Barry also says that's why we homeschooled 4 kids. Awesome. I'll bet you the Songer kids are doing well. Lord willing, I'm sure they are, based on knowing you, Barry. Imagining, I don't remember meeting your wife, but I'm sure she's got to be solid. I mean, think about it. Homeschooling 4 kids, man, what an honor that would be, right? That you guys were able to do that. That's great. I hope they are thriving. Now, the crypto point out, let me touch on that, Barry. You can't pump the crypto. And this is why I don't know that the Russians are drumming this up, or maybe they know that this is really going to get planned. But you can't really pump a crypto and that if it's asset backed. Meaning, the way I understand the coins that are going to be like Tether, USDC, they're basically, the stable coins are going to be highly regulated in this aspect. If you are going to be a licensed issuer by the U.S. Treasury of stable coins, then you must have in your reserve an amount equal to the dollars that you are digitally creating through your blockchain. So again, there is third-party risk because we're going to have to trust the issuer that they're going to have the assets, and we have to trust the police, which are the government regulators. However, if we were to use Bitcoin, I believe we could probably see it on the Explorer. If we had transparency with cryptos, literal transparency, meaning the Department of Education, and again, I hope just like Javier Milei, we afuera with that department. But when we have a Department of Energy, Department of War, whatever, if the budget that is issued to them, the currency issued from, right now it's the Federal Reserve, the lying, thieving Federal Reserve. We take a loan out every year of this huge $1 trillion budget, right? But if it's the Treasury and it's not a loan, we don't have to pay interest. And if it's in crypto, we can follow it. Or if it's cryptography that allows the the transparency of it. We can all see. Let's just imagine this. If each department had a wallet, a crypto wallet of US dollars, it only had US dollars, only able to hold US dollars in digital form. And we knew that address. We couldn't, based on the cryptography, couldn't break into it, but we could observe it. We could spy on the spies. That is possible. Not that I'm saying it's going to happen, you know. They are critical thinkers, says Barry. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I mean, I'm just in the infancy stage when it comes to being awakened to first principle thinking. First principle thinking is basically casting doubt on almost everything. How do you verify things? What would you consider a verifiable marker? How would you take anyone's word at face value? How can you? Should you? These are first principle thinking strategies. And we all ought to at least try to use them. I'll go back to, and I don't know if you all have watched Wag the Dog, but they created a war. How do we know what's going on in Iraq? By first principles thinking, I'm not going to trust the news, even if they claim to be there. We're going back to Wag the Dog. They had films where they were, I think it was Bosnia, where the little girl was in Bosnia and she had a babushka on and she's running from doorway to doorway. Bombs are falling and everything. And then cut. It was all fake. But they broadcast it on the news. And you and I both know that there's a block of America that will believe anything that comes in that square box in their living room. Whatever comes out of it, they believe it, especially if you're wearing a suit. You talk authoritatively. You know? Look at what Fauci did. Look at what Fauci did. Not just to our country, to the world. And then what do we get? How many fifths did he plead? 111 or something like that? He pled the fifth on all these things? Crimes against humanity, ladies and gentlemen. They knew all along the product that they were pumping into the veins of the citizens of the world, not just this country, was poison. They knew it all along. And they wanted kids to get it, babies, pregnant women. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's safe and effective. Was it? How did that work out? Barry says, having any transparency in our government would be a good start. Amen, brother. Amen. I'm just saying that there's a potential for it with cryptography, with blockchain technology. It has to be, though, in some way or form. Real money? Well, we can't really make it. We already have Bitcoin. It's decentralized, which they're attacking now, right? They're claiming this BIP 110 thing, and they're saying all kinds of stuff about Bitcoin now. That, this guy's cornering the market. This is, the EFTs are going to take it. No, guys, don't buy it. What I believe is happening right now is that institutions, we're this close. And yeah, the Clarity Act didn't happen, right? They went home. Congress went home and they should have just stayed and done their job. So if regulation comes, the big guys, the whales, the institutions are going to just completely fill themselves to the gills with Bitcoin. So they want to scare us in the interim. They want to scare us away from Bitcoin. Don't let them do it. Bitcoin's going to go lower before it shoots up again. It's going to go lower. Don't take my word for it. I'm not going to give you a number. I can't do that. But I'm basing this on history. If the big guys are going to get in it, they're not going to get in it when it's expensive. They're going to want to destroy it a little bit. ding it up a bit, get it at a discount. And how do you do that? You get working people to drop their bag. Oh, I'm scared now. You may or may not have read about that cold card wallet hack. Did you know that it's been known since 2021 that there was a deficiency in the ability of the wallet to generate the keys that protect your wallet? 4 or 5 years they knew. Why are they letting it go now? Why is just now someone's hacking in? You think it might be tied maybe to the timing of when the big boys want to get in? I do. They don't play fair, ladies and gents. They don't play fair at all. So what would I say? If you got some, keep it. If you want some, get it. I'm not a financial advisor, and none of this is financial advice. What I am saying is, if it works for you, do it. Don't let them scare you, especially social media, regular media, right? Critical thinkers, right, Barry? We all need to be critical thinkers. Does it work for you? Do you like it? Get some. Do you want to diversify? I think so, but I'm not a financial advisor. You're the financial advisor. And how do I mean that? You're in control of your money. We don't abrogate our responsibility of the wealth that we've earned and want to pass on to our kids to someone else. I mean, we have, but I mean, look what happens. 2008, anyone? Right? The stock crash of 2029, I think it was, right? That was planned by the usual suspects. Pump and dump, right? Just like you said, Barry. They pump up crypto. Oh man, they're only learning from the masters, the master criminals at the Federal Reserve. That's what they do all the time. So, I guess just to wrap that conversation up, I'm going to say that we basically have a better chance when we hold on to what we have and we don't let people scare us away. That way, we're thinking critically. And if we think on first principles, we might want to think, okay, what are the underlying factors between or about this hack, this cold card hack? Underlying factors. Well, it was a discrepancy or a deficiency that they didn't report, the company. They were using an ineffective, low-tech, random generator for the keys to the random words that secure your wallet. And they knew it. They kept on. So that's one thing. Second thing is the amount of time that they knew about it. And it wasn't just them. Other people knew about it. There was a verifiable deficiency there. It was vulnerable to attack. So what you have to also wonder, in my opinion, is why it took so long. And that's my theory, right? But I'm a conspiracy theorist. I think that if bad guys have a chance to get at something, they're going to get at it. But I think that the arch criminals use timing. The arch criminals set up the theft from way back. And at just the right time, boom, they hit it. They put panic in people. That's what they do. So today I read about a Trezor. Trezor's good. Trezor's good, guys. Trezor is good. But apparently the people that were shipping the Trezors had a data breach. So anyone who bought a Trezor, I think, in the last 3 months of 2026, I think it was. Don't quote me on this, but look it up if you're interested. Going back to what Trezor says is a 90-day period because they don't allow anyone, based on their policies, to retain information of the clients of Trezor for more than 90 days. Again, third-party risk, right? But anyway, it was names, addresses, and emails. So what these people are to expect now is phishing expeditions with a PH on their emails. Hey, this is such and such a place. This is an exchange. We want to, make sure that your wallet's secure. And then when they get you on the phone, we're gonna need your keys to unlock this, that, or the other thing. Okay, so Barry says, so you think it's a pump and dump and not theft? PSYOP. Could be, or could be both. Pump, dump, PSYOP. Right? Setting themselves up to get it at a discount. Because if people start getting rid of their Bitcoin, that's going to show up in the EFTs. Because that's where probably the weakest hands are holding Bitcoin right now. They're going to say, oh man, I'm out of this. Or ETFs, I'm sorry. ETFs. So that is where I think it's going to show. Not just the average person saying, hey, I got a couple hundred or a couple thousand worth of Bitcoin. I'm going to sell it. I don't know that is really going to make a difference. But suffice it to say that it's on the table as a possibility that it was all timed this way. Now, of course, we got to go back to it. They laughed. These politicians laughed. They went home. It's incredible. It's incredible. The way our country runs is, in the technical term, retarded. I am using that in the technical term. So, where do we go from here? Well, we go to what I would like to say and would like to see as a reshored foundation. We got a good foundation. We just need to bring it back together. And one of the biggest things about that foundation is the economy. You can't have a good economy with a fiat currency. It might last for a while, but it's gonna crap out after a while. And that's what we're seeing. And it's designed that way, guys. It's designed that way by the designers of the fiat currency scam. It's a pyramid scheme, and they got it all. So I'm hoping that we're going to win by receiving news someday. 1, no more Federal Reserve. 2, no more IRS. 3, no more income tax. 4, asset-backed treasury notes. No more Federal Reserve notes. Treasury notes. Treasury notes is the answer. Okay? In paper form, whatever. I don't know. There'd probably be counterfeiting, right? Asset-backed. Asset-backed. It has to be. No more fiat. Not for America. Not for the new America. The great America. And then, let's hope that with the defunding of the criminals, they're never going to go away, right? But let's hope that we can get some reason and logic and faith back in America. By faith, I mean God himself. More people believing that not only does God exist, but he wants us to be good. Because like Francis de Tocqueville said, America is great because America is good. When America ceases to be good, America will cease to be great. We've ceased, ladies and gents. But to quote an even higher authority, the highest, in fact, authority that exists, if all the people who call themselves by my name, says God, humble themselves, bend their knee, and ask, I will forgive them and heal their land. May it be. May it be. If anybody doesn't have anything else to talk about, I'm going to sign out. We've gone on a little bit under an hour today, but that's fine. That is fine. I would say, though, and I want to say as a parting thought, let's all pray about it. I'm not trying to beat anybody over the head with a Bible. I will tell you that we can win victories in prayer. We most definitely can win victories in prayer. We will win victories in prayer. Let's do it together. Thank you. Have a great week. God bless you. God bless your families. And God bless America. Thank you. Otter is out.
This is the